Hello, everybody. Welcome to our dating conversation, real talk, part two for this season. Happy Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av. Yes, we assume that the beginning of the 9 days is a time of sadness, but I am very happy to report that I am live from the Ohel, where one of my dearest, closest friends, Dini Reichman, just got engaged to this man who I just met who seems wonderful. His name is Mechi Weiss. And I am so overjoyed. And, you know, when Mashiach comes, the month of Av, climaxing with Tisha B'Av will be the greatest holiday because we will see how all the pain that happened till now was, where it was building up towards. And when Mashiach comes, that it'll turn into the greatest holiday because we'll have the kind of the end story of where this was all supposed to go. So I feel like today, the beginning of the amount of people here and the L'chaim tonight, all are invited in Crown Heights. I really feel, I guess, a tiny glimpse of what we'll feel like when Mashiach comes. And I just want to share that energy with you. So I'm on a high. I might even be a little flustered, and I hope it makes sense. But what this has shown me more than anything else is the combination of Hashem has a plan. Their story is so obvious. Mashiach energy. Thank you, Moody. Yes. It's so obvious with their story that Hashem, it had to happen this way. Like they would not have met, they would not have gone out a few years ago, all the different things in place. And he's younger than her, by the way. And combined with that, they're both so growth oriented and have grown and done so much in their lives. It seems seamless. Hashem does his part. He has the best of plans. You always see it. Fact. And we have to be growth oriented. Remember? So we stretch out our arm. Hashem will reach us to the basket when he sees fit. Okay. So we talked about different ways of stretching out our arm. We spoke about chocolate for time good, think the one will be good. And now we're gonna go on with a few other topics. Okay. So by the way, I'm on a phone, so it's harder for me to see the chat box because at the end I'll go into it. Okay. How to look for him and her, right? I'm supposed to stretch out my arm. One of the ways of doing that is by actively looking, seeking, trying to find him or her, right? There's somebody out there, and I have to try to find them. How do you do that? The answer is there's many, many options. And people will tell you, no, don't do that. You have to do this. Or no, don't do that. You have to do this. There is no one way. I want you to think to yourself right now, 3 people that you know in the last 10 years that got engaged or married. And how did they meet? Give yourself a second and write it down. Okay, so I know a lot of people that got engaged, thank God, and married in the last 10 years. And they met through all of the, this class is not only for women, however, like we discuss all the time. Thank you, women. You are the leaders and the pioneers in making sure that we have, we're considered that Karis Habayis, the anchor of the home. And I think because we know that, we're the ones that take the bull by the horn and take dating seriously. Any man that's on here, thank you, Arnon, for showing your face. Any man that's on here, kol hakavod, good for you. Yeah, good for you, good for you. So we gotta. I would love for more men to come. The facts are the women are the ones that show up to these things. All right. Anyway, but the message is definitely for everybody. Okay, there's many ways to meet somebody. Okay, and these are what I call the human ways. Again, Hashem will do his part. The human ways are a Jewish party of any sort, apps, and even a non-Jewish app. If you search if you do the filters, and a lot of wonderful from Shomer Shabbos people, I'm saying just to show that even they have met on apps. Shabbat dinners, beautiful way, big, small. Shul, it's a Jewish meeting place. And then through people. So a shadchan is a formal matchmaker, a friend, family, rabbi, rebbitzin. Okay? This is probably, I think, one of the biggest shifts that people need to make. Because very often we get stuck in one way, so to speak. Use more resources. Yeah, some people have terrible experiences with dating apps. But so many people meet on dating apps. It's a modern day matchmaker, so don't write anything off. Another point, one of my marrieds that are interviewed says that people get stuck in the resources, either just apps or just friends. And some people will say like, oh, everyone there is too religious for me, I'm not going to go there. You're closing a door by saying that. A big part of potentially meeting your match is surrounding yourself by other Jews, by other people, by other good people. I just heard something from a not Jewish person, talks about dating a lot. He does a lot of really good things, actually. Someone on Instagram, I have no idea what his name is. Maybe Boston. Anyway, he said, you want to meet good people, right? So maybe one like really quality person, but usually quality people are friends with quality people. So by becoming friends with them or joining their circle or maybe entering their community, you're more likely to meet greater people. So open your resources as much as you can. You never know. Okay, so I do want to say that sometimes some things make people uncomfortable. Okay, and I'll give you an example. Big parties, by the way. If we're gonna rate like where you're most likely to meet someone, I don't know if we could do this. I thank God for Rosh Hashanah, a lot of people have met through the bigger events as well as the smaller ones. But yeah, there is something about big events that are a little scary. So I guess I want to address that. First of all, this is my advice to everyone that comes, especially a lot of people are nervous when they come to these things. Don't come to a big party or really to anything that I said here. Apps and shadchanim are very direct, but if you go to shul, if you go to Shabbat dinner, any just place that you're going Jewishly and you very likely will meet somebody, don't go with the objective to meet like, oh, tonight I might meet my person, because you won't be yourself, you won't be comfortable. The idea is you're going somewhere Jewish, you're surrounded by wonderful people, enjoy yourself, be yourself, celebrate Shabbos, celebrate the holiday. That's what you should do, but that's the environment you should put yourself. It happens if a guy comes over to you and you like him, or you see a girl, you should definitely go over and talk to them. But to have that objective, like this might be the night, you're basically ruining it for yourself. The other thing I will say is it is a less intimate setting. There is less, it's less likely to create maybe meaningful conversations. But again, it plays into that bigger factor of keeping doors, keeping windows open. People see you. My husband likes to say this a lot. If you come around, people see you, and people think about you, right? When people have conversations about, let's think of some ideas. If it's somebody that's constantly around in a healthy way, of course, then they'll be thought about. They'll be set up. You're making friends. You have no idea what connection is going to lead to something else. But as long as it's kosher, obviously, do some people meet in clubs and bars? Sure. I'm not going to officially endorse that. If you're very uncomfortable in a certain setting, and let's say big parties, it's most common, so I'm going to keep on using that, makes you very, very uncomfortable, and you really don't like it, talk to your DM. It's probably okay if you avoid that. I'm not saying you should do something that causes anxiety, but the overall concept is don't close the door, expand your resources. A lot of us get stuck. Stretch out your arm, right, left, straight, stretch out your arm. Okay, now I want to go into general shifts that people might need to make, and they're very, the first one I'm saying specifically because I say a lot of rules, I say a lot of general guidelines. At the end of the day, it's an individual story, and you'll see why I'm saying this, because it goes against everything that I've said till now, pretty much. Okay, and I'm saying the names because she's happy for me to publicize it. This is written by Isabel. She wrote, I took a big risk when after 6 months, right? My motto, 6 months, not 6 years. Alex said he didn't have a timeline in mind for marriage. Huge red flag. Uh-oh, this guy's not taking it seriously. but I thought, I really don't want to start over with anyone else, and that I'd give it a year. I looked at his actions, which were all very marriage promising, so that even though his words made me afraid, his actions said otherwise, and I let go instead of trying to chokehold him. This is very powerful. This is not the script everyone has to play out, but I wanted to say it. I wanted to bring it to your attention that we don't really know how the story goes out, but we strengthen ourselves, we fortify ourselves with general principles that are just overall positive, healthy, wholesome way to go about this process of our lives. Okay. Somebody else, their shift. I think the fact that they're personal means a lot. At one point, I had to tap in more to my feminine. I have a great career, I'm very accomplished educationally, this is a woman, and professionally, and have different accolades under my belt. However, I wanted to be with a man. I was attracting more feminine men because I was too strong on presenting all of my accomplishments, and I was afraid of being a taker. Slowly, I realized that I could never date someone for more than 3 months as there wasn't a deeper manly pull. I had to learn, and I'm still learning, to accept and flow better and attract more manly men who I could see leading me and my family. And I saw this play out, and it was wild once she made that shift. That's exactly what she got. And they have a beautiful, beautiful family. Thank God. Okay, next person shift. Yes, I had to make a shift. I wasn't Shomer Shabbos, and it was clear that this was a passion of his. This I know applies to many people. A few months into dating, I decided to start my journey of keeping Shabbos. It was hard. I was never asked to change. Her future husband never asked to change, but I wanted to make the shift myself because I wanted to align religiously so that he could see that I saw a future in building a home with him. It made it more meaningful that I wanted to make this life change versus it coming from him, since that could possibly lead me to resenting it. So she did become more religious, but in a very healthy, wholesome way. And yes, the fact that she saw this guy that she really could picture a life with, pushed her in that direction, and that's fine. As long as it comes from you, it's okay if it's inspired by him and by her. Somebody said the shift that they made was becoming shomer, which is short for shomer nagia, not touching. I haven't talked about it much this time, but obviously that's very, very, very helpful and recommended in order to meet for marriage. Okay, next shift somebody made is be open-minded. Not everything is a red flag. Don't swipe left immediately. Your husband is not a menu item. You can't substitute the things you don't like. You have to accept the full package and work through problems. Be open-minded and open-hearted. Hashem will send you your match through different means. You don't know which it may be. It is a matter of being able to receive and be open to this partner that you will be able to even be capable of receiving him and her into your life, or her into your life. Okay, next one. You ready? Stop being too picky and choosing with your ego. If the only thing in the way of accepting another person who accepts and is interested in you is one thing on your credential list, right? You have a whole list and one thing is not there, let it go. If you think the person that marries them is going to be lucky, but it's not for me, reevaluate, right? I know sometimes it's valid, but when you see somebody that's very impressive and so very wonderful, and you jump the gun to say, it's not for me, make sure you know why you're saying that, right? Sometimes it's totally appropriate, and sometimes it's like, well, what are you waiting for? Like, Superman to show up? Okay, next is stop expecting, stop comparing, and stop despairing. Very poetic. All right, ready for this one? A man wrote this. I'm very, very proud of him. Males to stop spilling their seed. We'll use that lashon nakia, that clean language, particularly in a solo manner. In other words, masturbate. I'll just let that sit. Again, that's coming from a man directly. I guess it's obvious why it's a good shift to make. But I definitely wanted to share that with all of you. Okay, next, don't overthink it. Be yourself. When you meet the right guy, it will click and you'll both appreciate that it was a natural connection. I don't know if you see, but some of these do contradict with each other, right? That person that had to make a conscious effort to bring out her feminine and seek the man out is maybe different than someone that says, just don't overthink it, be yourself. When it's time, it'll click. So a lot of it is personal. Make sure you're speaking to someone that can really help guide you if you're not sure what the best next step should be. Okay, this one I like a lot. No need to wait for the guy to text you back after a first date. It's okay to initiate the first text. If you had a good time, feel free to reach out the following day to say, thanks for taking me out. I had a great time. In other words, you're just letting him know just thank you. Just how girls appreciate being thanked. If they coordinate something, guys are the same. They won't think it for being desperate. And the ones that do think it's weird to send a thank you have other issues they need to work on, right? If a guy it freaks out from someone saying thank you for taking me out, let's have a nice time. This is a big problem. Okay, next, stop thinking girl's gonna walk in and just blow you away. This is from a guy, right? Either by their looks or by their energy. If it happens, high chance that energy that's pulling you is not the same ingredients that you would look for in a lasting marriage. So we want that, we seek it out, looks cool in the movies, black eyes across the room, boom. Not only is it not real life, it actually could be a recipe for a disaster of somebody that's of that nature. Okay. Dating is tough, but don't be vetchy, right? Nagging, sad. Like a business deal, this is also from a man, by the way, you do your best, right? You try this, you try that deal, you try this one, this connection, that networking, but only one needs to work out, and then you seal the deal. Learn from experience and keep chugging. Oh, this is a good one. Make sure to go on a decent amount of one-on-one dates. Basically, just date the two of you before doing friend hangouts. In other words, hanging out with other friends. It's important that the relationship is in a strong place before opening the relationship up to your close friends. Listen, I'm of the belief that you don't need friends in the picture at all until you know each other. But I know that that's, I'm okay with understanding that people do things, more secularly now. But definitely, it's not a way to test or learn your relationship, especially because everyone will have opinions and their opinions don't really matter. Okay, this is a really great one. Hashkafically, in terms of your Jewish values, so to speak, no two people are at the same place ever. If someone experiences and practices their Judaism, it's going to be unique. So by definition, your partner will either be more or less than needs matters. Always, or never two people are in the same place Jewishly. It doesn't happen. It's really important to know where that person is coming from and how they got to where they are today. At that point, you really understand it, and you decide if you can find respect and love with it. Coming from personal experience, this was a big red flag for many years. It shouldn't have been, and I'm so blessed that it was it. Just like people's relations oscillate, so do the relationship with Judaism. And it's too taboo to just use a sterling factor. And it is a huge factor for people, different religious places. My general rule is it's not about where you both are right now, it's about which direction you're going in, right? Because some people can meet at the same place, but one's growing and one's diving, and that's not good. But if they're both in general direction and they're respectful of each other as human beings, usually that doesn't have to be an issue in a relationship. No two people are ever in the exact same place. Yes, you have to build a home together. That's something that should be talked about. But with the basis of respect and the basis of knowing that you're going in the same direction, that's really the crux of what matters. All right, awkward. There's a lot of awkward talk out there. It will be awkward. It was awkward. It is awkward. Here's my policy on when it should be awkward. First of all, it should never be the reason why you don't date somebody. That, in the off chance it doesn't work out, or the chance that it does work out, it's going to be awkward. That's your reason. You really got to sort out why. Like how awkward, because that should not be a reason. We don't make such decisions based on one day maybe being awkward. If you're unsure, of course, this is where DM would come in. But when should it be awkward, potentially? Meaning, okay, I'll start basic. Let's say somebody went out, they went on a few dates, was very respectful, was very kind, it didn't work out. Yeah, you might blush a little when you see that person, but shouldn't be awkward. We're adults, we're humans, right? You don't have to continue talking. You probably shouldn't. You don't have to be friends, probably shouldn't. But that's very normal, and we're adults. And there's a little bit amount of, I don't want to say stress or awkwardness that we can handle. We're humans, right? Nothing in life is going to be like just, whenever I go to a big party at one of ours, people are like, oh, I dated half the guys in this room. Okay, but then you have two reactions. Either you laugh about it. I don't mind if you notice it. You laugh about it. And you enjoy your Shabbos dinner, or it turns into the most awkward night of your life. Doesn't have to be that way. When I think it is appropriate for it to be awkward is if it's in limbo, and this happens to a lot of people, and I hate the limbo. Not sure if you're friends, you're not sure if you're dating, you're not sure. That will be awkward, because any place of confusion or any place of doubt or what, I'll see the questions at the end if that's okay. that will create awkwardness because guess what? You're awkward inside. It's not a good place. It's very unsettling. So as best as possible, try to get clarity on that front. Another place that another time it would be awkward is if the whole thing, whatever part of it, wasn't treated with decency or with respect. If somebody was a jerk, if somebody, just didn't behave decently, then I don't say awkward, but you'll be uncomfortable about that around that person. And I don't mean you should necessarily avoid them, but I guess I want to validate that if you're feeling more stronger emotions than just a regular, guy or girl that didn't work out, I get that because, well, that's something I hope no one experiences. But I want to validate that could be like, oh no, like that person really was rude to me, like really rude, not just, sometimes we're a little overly sensitive. Then it's okay to squeeze your friend's hand and plunge through. Okay, now the next one, it happens, and it's really just part of the package. But again, this should never be a reason why somebody shouldn't date. But it does happen. It can be very, very serious. You maybe even thought you were going to get married, and it doesn't work out. The reason that's awkward is because that's just a very heightened emotional situation. You need to give yourself time to heal. Again, we're going to honor that awkwardness. But I mention these things because if someone's in them, I want to validate it, but also because otherwise, again, man up, woman up. It's okay. Don't date somebody because it might be awkward and you see them a show. That's just not good, guys. It's not good. Okay, right. Basically, I don't want anyone to ever tell me I'm not going to date someone from the community because I know it'll be awkward. Or I don't want to date someone from my friend group because it'll be awkward. It's not a good enough excuse. If you have other reasons, okay, so say that. Now, here's something I really want us to all walk away with. And this just also shows on the maturity that we can all have in this arena. If you date somebody and they're a good person, they're a mensch, they're good, they're solid, they're normal. Again, they're thoughtful. They're not a match for you. Of course, that's totally fine. Think of somebody else that you would set them up with. And if you meet a good person, don't be selfish. Think of somebody else, or tell somebody, by the way, there's this great guy, whatever. So that's a really, really good thing to do and a very healthy thing to do. Okay. And I want to close before going into questions. Things that my married interviewee said about when they did feel helpless, hopeless. It does get hard sometimes. And here's some things that you might find interesting. Okay. I reevaluated who I was interested in. Decided to only date guys who I could tell liked me. No one I had to wonder about. I stopped dating, started focusing more on me and bringing myself to a better spiritual wavelength. Volunteered, listened to podcasts, cooked, worked out, further dived into work, had me time. I did the things that I knew I wouldn't have as much time for when I was married, had a family, and ensured I was building myself up. Very important. Don't get carried away, but very, very important. I reconnected with Hashem. I spent more time davening, praying, reading books, just talking to Hashem, going to shares, to classes, going to the OL. The more spiritually connected I was to Hashem, to God, the more emunah I had, the more faith, and subsequently I was more hopeful that God was taking care of me. I also made sure to spend time with people that were making me feel good about myself and took a break from those who weren't. Essentially building up the wholesomeness of who you are so that you could, it's really helpful in meeting your other half. I worked on my inner and outer appearance, meaning first I worked out, I got into good physical shape, so I felt more confident in my clothing. I wasn't as self-conscious. Second, I took some time to have nights at home to myself in order to reflect on what I wanted in life, which is focusing on finding a husband. Once I was more content with my outer and inner appearance, I coincidentally met my husband a few months later. The process showed me that in order to meet the right person, I had to feel at peace with myself. People can tell when you're anxious, unhappy with yourself, no matter how hard you try to hide it. So I think we covered a lot of different interesting nuances, different perspectives. And yeah, I do want to open the floor now to questions. Let me see if anything can chat box. All right, guys, wishing you all a wonderful time. We're in your corner. We're cheering for you. Looking forward to hearing good news. And remember, all news is good news because Hashem is news. Stretch out your arm and let Hashem do the rest. Have a wonderful day, and I'm looking forward to celebrating with you in Yerushalayim with Mashiach. Thanks all for coming.